can you help me understand a little something? What is the beef between Isiah Thomas and Michael Jordan? This feud has been going on for a very long time. I've seen it back and forth.
Yep.
I mean, I still don't understand what the beef is about.
Reportedly, allegedly, Isiah was the lead that froze Jordan out in his first All-Star game.
Huh?
That's what the reports were. Then, when the Bulls finally took down the Pistons, they rushed off the court. They didn't shake Jordan's hand.
Okay.
Jordan then, in turn, it is reported, I think Sam Smith wrote in the book that Jordan agreed to be on the Dream Team as long as Isiah wasn't on the team.
Okay.
Well, the biggest star in the world was Michael Jordan. You want him on the team.
Right.
Isiah deserved to be on the team. Isiah is a better point guard than John Stockton. So they've been going at it ever since.
Well, that's petty.
And it doesn't seem that is ending anytime soon.
Picture this. You're a two-time NBA champion with a Finals MVP trophy, a Hall of Fame career, and a resume that puts you among the greatest point guards who ever lived. Now imagine all of that still feels incomplete because one man decided you didn't belong on the most famous basketball team ever assembled. That's where Isiah Thomas lives today, and it's why he can't stop talking about Michael Jordan decades after both of them retired. What's happening between Isiah Thomas and Michael Jordan isn't your typical NBA beef, and it didn't end when their playing careers did. This Cold War has outlasted both of their times on the court, and Shannon Sharpe just broke down exactly why Thomas keeps bringing Jordan's name up with that same edge in his voice. The details reveal something bigger than basketball, something about what happens when your legacy gets shaped by forces you can't control.
Isiah said, until he gives me an apology, it ain't never gonna end.
Well, you know, I don't think Mike's going to be the one to apologize. Mike probably
ain't apologizing for Ish. I just told I sure hope he ain't waiting on that.
Well,
I sure hope he ain't waiting on that apology.
Hey, it's a weird feud, but it's one-sided though. Because I ain't heard Mike say nothing. I doubt
Mike ain't gonna say nothing. Not publicly.
Right.
Thomas showed up on Running It Back recently, and when they asked him about the GOAT debate, what came out wasn't a simple answer. He went after an entire generation of players for how they talk about LeBron James, who owns nearly every major statistical record in basketball history. Thomas asked why players from this era keep looking backward to praise Jordan instead of celebrating the greatness standing right in front of them, and then he dropped the line everyone noticed. When y'all talk about the greatest, y'all talk about the guy that gave you some shoes. That was an analysis of the GOAT debate, and everyone watching knew it. Thomas aimed that comment directly at Michael Jordan, and the anger behind it gave away everything about wounds that never healed. When Sharpe discussed this moment on his show, his co-host asked what everyone's been wondering for years: what actually happened between these two? Sharpe knows Thomas personally, considers him a friend, and has had him as a guest multiple times. What makes his breakdown so revealing isn't just the timeline of events he lays out, but the way he explains why Thomas can't move past this after 30 years. The issue goes deeper than basketball rivalries or playoff battles. What eats at Thomas is respect, recognition, and one missing piece that sits like a hole in an otherwise perfect resume. The bad blood traces back to Jordan's first All-Star game in 1985 when he walked into the league as the new star threatening to take over. Thomas was already established, already leading the Pistons, and according to reports, he allegedly orchestrated what became known as the freeze out. The concept was simple and brutal. Don't pass the rookie the ball, let him look foolish on the biggest stage in front of millions of viewers. Jordan finished with 7 points in 22 minutes, and whether this actually happened the way the stories claim or not doesn't matter because Jordan believed it happened, and that belief shaped everything that came after. Then the playoff wars started, and the Pistons beat Jordan's Bulls 3 consecutive years using a physical, punishing style designed specifically to stop him. They created the Jordan rules, a defensive scheme so aggressive that today's NBA would eject players for attempting it, and Thomas led that charge as the Pistons' floor general and emotional leader. The moment that made this personal beyond repair came in 1991 when the Bulls finally swept the Pistons 4-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals. With 7.9 seconds left in the final game, Thomas led the entire Pistons team off the court without shaking hands with Jordan or any of the Bulls players. This wasn't just bad sportsmanship or frustration from a tough loss. This was a public display of disrespect that got replayed on every sports show and remembered by every basketball fan who saw it. Jordan filed that moment away, and according to Sharpe's account, that walk-off sealed Thomas's fate for what was about to happen next. 1992 Olympics were coming, and the NBA was sending its first dream team to Barcelona. This wasn't going to be just another Olympic squad. This was going to be greatest collection of basketball talent ever put together on one roster, featuring Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and of course Michael Jordan at the peak of his powers. Isiah Thomas ranked among the best point guards on the planet with 2 championship rings and a finals MVP to prove it. No basketball reason existed to leave him off the roster, none at all. But according to reports that Sharp referenced on his show, Jordan made his position clear: if Thomas makes the team, count me out. The committee faced a choice between the biggest star in the sport or Isiah Thomas, and they went with Jordan. John Stockton got the point guard spot instead, even though Sharp pointed out what everyone who watched them play already knew. Isiah is a better point guard than John Stockton.
That's the only thing that's missing on his resume, is that Olympic, that dream team. And he knows he's supposed to have been on that team.
But that doesn't take away from everything he's accomplished, huh? It doesn't.
When they talk about Ocho, they talk about the dream. You got the Redeem Team 1, you got the Redeem Team 2.
Right.
But everything spurs off the dream team.
Right.
He's not a part of that.
Sharp revealed something that explains why this still burns for Thomas decades later. Look at what Thomas accomplished. 2 NBA championships, finals MVP, NCAA championship, most outstanding player of the 1981 NCAA tournament when his Indiana team beat North Carolina, multiple All-Star selections, and a Hall of Fame induction. That's a career most players dream about but never achieve. The kind of resume that should feel complete. But one thing's missing, and it's not just any ordinary achievement. Thomas has no Olympic gold medal. And more specifically, he has no place in Dream Team history. Sharp explained that Thomas actually missed 2 Olympic chances through no fault of his own. The 1980 Moscow Olympics got boycotted by the United States because of the Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan, costing Thomas his first opportunity. Then when 1992 came around and he finally had another shot, Michael Jordan blocked it. As Sharp put it on his show, that's the only thing missing on his resume, that Olympic, that dream team, and he knows he's supposed to be on that team. Sharp's perspective cuts to the heart of why this haunts Thomas so much. When people talk about USA basketball's legacy, every conversation revolves around that 1992 dream team. The 2008 Redeem team and the 2012 squad get mentioned as footnotes compared to what happened in Barcelona. That dream team defined an era, changed global basketball forever, and became a cultural phenomenon that transcended sports. Thomas isn't part of that story. Not in any of the documentaries, not in any of the retrospectives, not in any of the conversations about basketball excellence that reference that team. He's absent from all of it, not because his game wasn't good enough to earn a spot, but because Michael Jordan said no. When someone asked Sharp if an apology from Jordan would bring Thomas peace, his response revealed the depth of the wound. I guess he feels that man has impugned his reputation. An apology wouldn't rewrite history or add an Olympic gold to Thomas's collection, but it would at least acknowledge that what happened was personal revenge rather than a basketball decision. What makes this feud so lopsided and, according to Sharp, so maddening for Thomas is that Michael Jordan has never publicly said a word about any of it. Sharp noted on his show, "I ain't heard Mike say nothing, and that ain't how he operates." Jordan doesn't do public feuds or respond to critics, doesn't apologize or explain his decisions. His silence carries its own power, and every time Thomas brings up Jordan's name or makes another comment like the one on running it back, Jordan's refusal to engage makes Thomas look obsessed, while Jordan appears completely unbothered. Sharp even joked about Thomas waiting for that apology. I sure hope he ain't waiting on that, because the idea of Michael Jordan apologizing to Isiah Thomas is about as likely as Jordan admitting LeBron is better. It's never coming, and Sharp knows it. Thomas probably knows it too, but that doesn't stop the hope or the anger. What gives Sharp's analysis real weight is his personal relationship with Thomas. He's had him on the show multiple times. They've talked extensively off camera, and Sharp genuinely likes the guy. His description of Thomas paints someone far more complex than the bitter ex-player his recent comments might suggest. Sharp called Thomas thoughtful and knowledgeable about all sports, not just basketball. Someone who loves football as much as he loves the game he played professionally. This matters because Sharp isn't some talking head throwing shots at someone he doesn't know, and this isn't a hit piece from someone who can't see both sides. Sharp understands why Thomas feels slighted, agrees that his exclusion from the Dream Team was unjust, and believes Thomas's legacy should feel complete. But through his words, you can sense Sharp also thinks that, at some point, holding onto this anger only hurts the person carrying it, not the person it's aimed at. What Sharp's breakdown really exposes is something profound about how sports legacies work. Winning isn't always enough. Championships don't guarantee satisfaction, and even being among the greatest to ever play your position sometimes still leaves you incomplete. Athletes don't always get haunted by what they failed to accomplish through their own shortcomings. Sometimes what eats at them is what got taken away, what they deserved and should have received, what they lost, not because they weren't good enough, but because someone with more power decided they didn't deserve it. Thomas looks at his career and sees everything he did, every championship he won, every record he set, every game he dominated. But he also sees that one team photo he should be in but isn't, that one piece of basketball history he should own but doesn't, and he knows with absolute certainty it's not because his game wasn't good enough. It's because Michael Jordan said no, and nobody was willing to tell Michael Jordan no. Sharp's analysis brings us to a question that might never get resolved. Did Jordan actually have the right to keep Thomas off that dream team? From Jordan's perspective, the Pistons played dirty basketball that crossed lines, tried to injure him repeatedly, and Thomas led that entire operation. The Jordan rules weren't just tough defense, they were designed to hurt him and force him out of games. In Jordan's mind, why should he have to suit up alongside someone who spent years trying to end his career? From Thomas's side of it, basketball is a business and champions do what they need to do to stay on top. The Pistons were physical and tough because that's what worked, that's what won them championships, and that's what defending champions do when a new threat emerges. Once the competition ends, you're supposed to move past it. You don't hold grudges that destroy someone's legacy. Sharp doesn't pick a side in laying all this out. He just gives us the facts and lets us understand why Thomas still says Jordan's name with that edge in his voice 3 decades after they both stopped playing. Thomas said once that he won't let this go until Jordan apologizes, and Sharp's response on his show revealed what he really thinks about that approach. If I was him, I'd be, man, it is what it is. My legacy is cemented. All my accomplishments, my resume, it is what it is. But here's what makes sports legacies so complicated and so frustrating for players who live through them. You never fully control the narrative. Thomas earned 2 championships, a Finals MVP, a Hall of Fame career, and recognition as one of the greatest point guards ever to touch a basketball. When people think about 1990s basketball, though, Jordan dominates every conversation. When they think about USA basketball, the Dream Team comes up first and always. Thomas exists outside both of those narratives, not because he failed or came up short, but because Jordan made sure he wouldn't be part of either story. What Shannon Sharp's breakdown reveals goes beyond a petty rivalry between 2 retired players. This story shows how power works in sports, how legacies get shaped by forces that have nothing to do with talent or achievement, and how some wounds can't heal when the person holding the knife refuses to admit they cut you. Thomas will keep talking about Jordan because that's all he can do. Jordan will keep saying nothing because his silence proves who won, and the rest of us watch this lopsided feud continue year after year. Understanding that sometimes being one of the greatest ever still isn't enough if the greatest of all time decides you don't belong in the conversation.